Function with Purpose podcast. All things health, wellness, fitness, and education through the physical therapy perspective. I am Dr. Amy Bullock, owner and founder of Fortress Physical Therapy. Fortress PT is here to serve the Charlotte metro area by highlighting the importance of how and why physical therapy should be a part of your health and wellness lifestyle. Here we go. Welcome to Season 11, Episode 6 of the Function with Purpose podcast. Thank you for joining in. This is Dr. Amy, your host. Today's topic is when to take your fitness for a test drive. And this topic in particular dawned on me when we were at I was at my CrossFit gym and we had an in-house competition. So the members, we were divided into teams at random, and we competed, quote unquote, competed against each other. And one of the workouts was I was teamed up with two of my male athletes, and we were around the same age, like mid-late 30s, early 40s. And one of the athletes, he and I used to compete in the past. We would do the CrossFit Open kind of together, and then the age group quarterfinals. And he's a pretty fit guy. Shout out to Torben. But our other teammate, Teague, I'm going to call him out, never really participated in like legit competition before. So he and I mean, he's more fit than what he was 2-3 years ago. He's been in the CrossFit methodology for quite some time, but recently, probably since COVID started, finally became a member at our gym and started doing our programming. And then he started working with me maybe about a year-ish ago for physiotherapy, just kind of taking care of ailments. But he sparked this question, like, I want to do a competition. Like how do I know when I'm ready? And I figured I'd talk about it today. So when to take your fitness for a test drive. I think, based on personal experience and being on a team with my two athletes who are amazing, they're pretty fit. I think when one kind of figure out when to test their fitness is when their mindset is on the forefront, where their confidence in the movements, and we're going to use CrossFit, for example, because that's what I'm surrounded by. When one is competent and confident with the movements or the standards. For guys, for example, a typical squat snatch or a power snatch, you have to be able to confidently hit that with multiple reps at 135 pounds. And another example would be use of a 50-pound dumbbell for various movements. That could be an overhead walking lunge. That could be a dumbbell snatch. In fact, using both dumbbells for maybe a burpee box step up. So be able to utilize a barbell and a dumbbell competently and confidently. And then more higher end gymnastics movements like bar muscle ups, ring muscle ups, and building capacity with handstand push-ups, handstand walking, etc. So I think one of the main things is you need to build the foundation, or build a better brick house, right? Once you kind of get in that environment or that atmosphere of fitness, honing in and learning the movement patterns and then constantly refining them and figuring out where your holes are. That is the biggest thing, or the biggest aspect that you need to become aware of. Figuring out where the gaps are in your fitness, and then either talking with someone, doing your own research, reaching out to a coach from your CrossFit gym or your other fitness gym, perhaps outsourcing your programming or working one-on-one with either a local coach or a remote coach, and being on the same page to have goals and then short-term goals or priorities to get you to that goal. So testing your fitness takes time, and I think some individuals or people, from what I've seen or have been in local competitions, I will be opinionated here. I think there's some people that shouldn't really be doing that early in their fitness journey. Just because there's too much unknown, right? They don't have the movement foundation solidified, or at least meeting a certain criteria, for example, right? And then they try to handle the prescribed, air quotes, prescribed weight, and perhaps they end up hurting themselves. So I think when you're early in your fitness career, or getting more deep into fitness or perhaps the CrossFit methodology, I think you need to spend some time really understanding the prerequisites for certain movements. And that is the first major step. That could look like 1 year. That could look like 3 years. And in my case, I started CrossFit back in, on and off in 13, really started picking up a little bit more in 14, became a CrossFit coach in 2015, basically from 15 to about 18, just understanding it. And then from 18 up until current 2025, I feel like my movement patterns are pretty solid. And now I'm just trying to maintain and build higher capacity endurance with higher level skills like bar muscle ups and ring muscle ups. So you take me for an example versus perhaps my other athlete, Teague, who just now started digging deeper into CrossFit methodology, probably around 2020 or 2021. And I started deeper into the methodology in like 2017, 18. So I'm like 7 years deep until this moment, from like 17, 18 up until 2025, that you really have to own the movement. And that refines your confidence and your mindset. So my first competition, live solo competition, was Wodapalooza in 2020, and I did the scaled version, and that was pretty potent. It was not no joke. I haven't really truly competed since. In fact, perhaps when this podcast comes out, I may or may not have completed my first High Rocks competition. So I don't know when I'm putting this out, but it's either coming up in April or it already happened. So a future podcast on that will be due the end of the year. So, since 2020, I haven't really legitly competed for 5 years, right? And I think it is important that once you do develop that awareness and you start filling the gaps in your fitness and being consistent every day, day in and day out, that one should, or in this case, Teague, should do a local competition. Maybe it is a team competition, or it's a solo or an individual competition, and he needs to put it on the schedule. So the next time I meet up with him, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about testing his fitness, stepping out of his comfort zone a little bit, and really having a plan in place so that way when he does go to this live competition, he can learn how to navigate the competition mindset, right? As well as, flip side, his nutrition, his fueling within the competition. Also, side note, I'll link to my recent competition last summer in 2024 on how I fueled for it and kind of stayed in tune during the 6-hour competition. But so testing the fitness. If typically for like these CrossFit type fitness competitions, usually the workouts, multiple workouts in a day, are exposed to those who sign up, usually maybe a couple months before, or it might be a couple weeks, before. And most of the competitions usually cover the basics. So not what you would see on the television of the CrossFit athletes or the CrossFit games, not of that caliber, but really, really kind of scaling that back to a novice level. So, power snatch or squat snatch, 135 pounds, possibly 155 pounds. And then with the competition day, can your body withhold the capacity of 3 to 4, maybe even 5 workouts within probably 10 hours or less? So you have to take an account of when and if you do have a fitness competition that is a day or perhaps 2 days long, your recovery and your capacity, your nervous system, your soft tissues, your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments to be able to withstand work, right? It's much, much different than sports, than organized sports. I grew up playing organized sports. I played travel ball and soccer, softball, and basketball. So we would play at most maybe 2, maybe 3 games a day. It just really depends. But think back then, we were teenager. I was a teenager back then, right? So my body was physically capable. If you were to ask me to do that today, I could probably do it, but I would be down for the count probably for about a week trying to recover. So taking your fitness for a test drive, being methodical, right? First and foremost is really understanding what may or may not be involved within that particular competition. So say if you have something that you're eyeballing for the upcoming year, like maybe it is Wodapalooza. For those who perhaps are listening, Wodapalooza is a CrossFit competition that happens yearly, usually around January, February each year. And it is located in Miami, Florida. And it's just a pretty cool outdoor competition. I think this past year, 2025, it's actually on the beach rather than next to Bayfront Park. So, okay, I'm doing workouts that possibly might be on the sand. Have you ever done that before? Hell no. We live in Charlotte, North Carolina. There ain't no sand around us. So what are you going to do as you prep for the competition? You're going to set up a mock workout at a beach, right? Duh, it makes sense. Because you got to see how your body handles the sand, the environment, the wind that's occurring on the beachfront, right? So when and if you do sign up for a competition, in this case, perhaps this Wodapalooza one, using it as an example, Teague, you have to mimic or set up your environment to mimic what you may be in, right? There's probably going to be some wind, so you'll have to do some workouts outside. Maybe, perhaps there's a local CrossFit box around here. For example, CrossFit 77, I'm going to throw that out. They have an indoor and outdoor workout space. So that might be something where Teague perhaps might go to CrossFit 77 for a day on the weekend and practice outside working out on an outdoor rig setup, right? So when and if you do decide to enter a competition and you feel pretty confident and competent in the movement standards, then you have to start scheduling out your future training, right? The environment, the setup, the weights used. Also within the workout, being methodical with your thinking. Burpees. Okay, boom, keep the core tight. I'm going to burpee out of the floor, and then I'm going to jump, right? Dumbbell snatch. I'm going to, alternate pressing on each leg just a little bit more. Where do I inhale and exhale my breath? Like being really, really methodical, because if you are deep into, in this case, the CrossFit methodology, these are little things, little tweaks to constantly refine, right? So then when the competition actually comes, guess what? You're not going to be as nervous, which we all get nervous anyways. You're testing out your capacity, your endurance, your strength, right? Your capability to do hard things under a clock. And then that carries over to reflecting what happened on competition day. What happened in that first workout of the day? What could you have done better? So these are all things that when you do decide to take your fitness for a test drive, you have to take notes. I know we're not elite athletes. We're not Olympians. We're not that 1% or less of the population. And that's okay. But I heard this quote. It was from Nick Bare. You don't have to be a professional athlete, but you can sure act like one. So why not develop that same mindset? That always makes me think back to my favorite athlete of all time, Michael Jordan, the GOAT. And just the work ethic that is put into the sport or the fitness realm, or if you're training for longevity. We're not professionals, but I'm going to act like one. I'm totally going to act like one. Because I'm training for me. I'm training to do better at this fitness. You get a baseline at your fitness competition, you reflect from it, and then you do some more training, right? And work on those gaps that you found within the competition. And then you sign up for another fitness competition later on. Maybe it's 6 months later. Maybe it's a year out. Maybe it's 5 years out like me. It's been 5 years since I've actually, quote unquote, competed outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. So flipping the script away from Teague, who's kind of new, right? New to testing his fitness. Flipping it over towards me as I'm prepping for a High Rocks event. At least right now in this moment, it hasn't happened yet. I haven't ran in 2.5, 3.5, maybe up to 5 years in order to figure out how my legs and my Achilles and my calves and my feet are going to withstand 8 sets of 1,000 meter runs, yet alone those little fitness stations in between, heavy sled, push, pull, burpee broad jumps, lunges, rowing, ski erg, wall ball shots, farmer's carries. So what do you think I'm doing? I'm mimicking that. I have a program set in place that I'm following and that I trust, and that I'm able, since I'm pretty competent in my movement patterns, I can tweak and make adjustments as needed based on how my muscles recover, my tendons feel, my ankle joints feel, my heart feels, etc. So exposing yourself to another fitness competition, you have to recreate that environment. And there might be moments where, I'm training on an assault runner. Oh, that's different than like running on ground, right? And going in and out of barriers, which I'm assuming that's what kind of High Rocks sets up, is these little, like, how when you're at the airport and you're waiting for security to get like checked through, right? Those little barrier things, and you're in this like S pattern, in and out, in and out. I think they kind of have a little bit of that set up. So, I'll be running on flat ground. I'm not like manually propelling a treadmill. So it's going to be different, but I still have to train with what I have, right? So I think when you have that movement competence, which then enhances your confidence and your mindset, you're going to be ready. So that's when search for something. If this is your first competition, first bout of testing your fitness, find something that's a little bit more local so you don't have to travel, right? So Charlotte, North Carolina, maybe look within a 50-mile radius, something that you can do, drive a day trip up, drive a day trip back, right? And learning how to prep for that day, going through the workouts of the day, reflecting in between each workout, recovering in between each workout, digging deeper into the nutrition, right? Prepping that mind before you even go in. Okay, I'm going to have this in between workouts. How much time, how much rest do I have in between each workout? What am I going to do in between each workout? I'm going to do some soft tissue work. I'm going to recover my heart rate on the bike. I'm going to do some stretching. I'm going to do some Theragun percussion therapy. I might even have my physical therapist there with me. Hell yeah, I'm going all in. I don't care. I don't care what other people say, right? I could talk all day about this. Have it. Practice testing your fitness leading up to the actual fitness event, right? But from my viewpoint, I think it's important that you need to figure out where your gaps are first, dig deeper and be more invested into the methodology of fitness, i.e. CrossFit in this case. Get some good reps under your belt, improve your mindset, improve your confidence, have a coach, have a nutrition coach, have all these steps in place, so that way a year out, 2 years out, or 3 years out, you're like, yeah, I'm shooting for that local competition in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm going to hit that, see how I feel. I'm going to take some notes, and then I'm going to do a little bit bigger competition. I'm going to go down to Wadapalooza in Miami, Florida. Or I'm going to go to Wadapalooza in California and prep. I wonder what that's going to be like when I actually have to travel on an airplane, go at a hotel, prep my food, recover, go to athlete debriefing, right? I know, you know what, Amy? Dr. Amy, I'm not an elite athlete. I don't care about that stuff. And that's okay. I'm not mad at you. But it's kind of cool to actually act like one. Not to be overconfident, but not to toot your horn. But we're not elitists. But we should have a mindset like that, right? I do. I'm trying to. I know that I go in and out of that mindset, but if my body's feeling good, I'm going to bring intensity, right? And I'm going to recover that much harder. So, when to take your fitness for a test drive? I think it, first and foremost, do you want to, right? And if you do, you make that decision, I want to test my fitness. Okay. Where are my gaps? What do I need to improve? And then how do I put the steps in place to improve that particular area, right? It might be barbell cycling. How do I do that? Do I need a coach? Okay, nutrition. Okay, I'm going to look into that. Cool, awesome. I quit eating junk. Okay, cool. Eat more whole foods. Great, got it. Getting that in place. Cool. Year later. All right. Feeling better. All right. Now I want an actual coach to program some things for me, some extra things outside of the CrossFit class that I take. Okay, cool. When am I going to do that? Okay. Then I'm going to slowly incorporate double workouts, 2-a-days, right? I'm going to work out in the morning. Then I'm going to do my zone 2 and some gymnastics works in the evening. Okay, cool. Awesome. Done. Consistent. Okay. All right. We're going to do a little mock fitness setup for the day. You're going to hit a workout at 8 a.m. You're going to recover for 90 minutes. You're going to do another one I'm going to program for you. Recover 90 minutes, and we're going to do one more that day. See how you feel. How do you feel the next day? Okay. Take notes. See? And that leads you up to, okay, I'm projecting to do this local CrossFit competition in Charlotte, North Carolina in June 2026. All right, where's it at? How's that box set up? What's the temperature going to be like? What's that environment going to be like? Is there going to be turf? Is it going to be outdoor? Is it going to be indoor? All of that stuff, right? Act like a pro. Set your standard. Take your fitness for a test drive. But first and foremost, before you do that, you have to know when. Your mind and body have to feel pretty good, but it's going to be mostly the mind. Until you develop confidence and competence in the movement standards, in being able to manipulate the barbell, get into the bar muscle up, handstand walking, etc. Once you're probably about a year or two deep into that, a little more capacity and higher level skills, then it's time for a little test drive. Then you reassess. What did you learn from that first test drive? Okay, year out, I'm training for Miami Wadapalooza in 2026 in January, February time, whenever they release that date. Cool. All right, what do I got to do to get myself there, to get myself prepared? Woo, okay, woo. You made it. So, if this might sound like you, or you're thinking about it, and you're like, oh shit, I don't even know where to start, Dr. Amy. I can help. Guess what? I'm a CrossFit coach. All right. Right on. Guess what? I'm a physiotherapist. Awesome. Cool. If I'm not your person, I can help find you a person. We can do some programming, some remote programming. Cool. Great. That sounds awesome, Amy. I'm ready. Okay. Build your foundation and then go from there. Then we'll talk a little more. So, taking your fitness for a test drive. Know when. Have systems in place. Go into your first competition. Take some notes. How'd your body feel? How'd you recover? What were the workouts? What do you think you could have done better? What didn't go well? What you plan on doing in the future? Train, and then hit it. That's a wrap for today's episode, Function with Purpose podcast. For more information on this episode, please check out the show notes within your podcast app. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, or drop your comments and questions below. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Thanks for the listen. Pursuit, precision, purpose.